We'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the October 17th, 2023 City Council meeting of the City of Windom. I would like to add, I believe, just one item, and that would be under new business, if the council is willing to amend the agenda to add the state of Minnesota appropriation money that's coming to the PFA through the, or will be making a payment to the PFA. And that's regarding the wastewater. Would the council approve that addition to the agenda?
You need a motion? I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion Jim, second by Marv. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Under the consent agenda this evening, we have the council minutes from October 3rd, Community Center Commission October 9th, EDA October 9th, Library Board October 10th, Planning Commission October 10th. License and permits include exempt gambling permits for the Windom Youth Hockey Association December 13th, Des Moines Valley Minnesota Deer Hunters for an event on February 17th. Also included are the regular bills. Council action?
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda and accept the regular bills.
I'll second.
Motion made by Scott, second by Jenny. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Department heads. I got a question. If Scott, would I understand that the trick or treat hours are set? Could you just inform the public for us on? Sorry, I didn't give you notice on that.
That's all right. Scott Peterson, Police Chief. The hours for October 31st of trick or treat are 4 to 7. During the week, we generally go 4 to 7. On the weekends, we've been going 4 to 8. Give a little extra time on the weekends. So that's what they are.
Thank you, Scott. Any questions for Scott? Okay, thank you. Any other department heads? Okay, we're going to move on to the public hearings. And we have Todd Hagan that is joining us via Zoom, I assume. Yep. And the first one is the proposed property tax abatements for electric generation building and municipal liquor store. Pardon me?
I'm looking for him.
Oh,
He's here someplace.
Todd, are you there?
Let's see.
Maybe I cut him off.
Todd, are you here? I am. Okay.
Oh.
Let me turn your mic up a little.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
We're adjusting the volume a little bit, Todd.
It's going to be really loud. Hang on.
Okay, I think you can go ahead now, Todd.
company or any parcels on this. We just really needed to find the minimum amount of value within the city, which means not having to publish, a whole lot of parcel numbers. So we did pick some 6 of them, which are sort of larger valued in the city of Windom. So I think a couple of these are fast. Toro on 3 of them, and Bank of the West on 1 of them. We can't include them in a tax increment district for the 19 years of this bond issue. So we picked ones that were going to be sort of inactive that way for the term of the bond issue. I believe we are able to switch some of these parcels around if something does occur on them in the future. I remain silent in the resolution that's in front of the council. After the public hearing, you'll consider approving the resolution that adopts the abatements. And with that, we can see at that point what the statute gives us for latitude on this. So we didn't want to box ourselves in. So we trying to keep this as flexible as possible. So also we've got a not to exceed number here to finance this part of the project. We've got a little cushion in there of $3.745 million on this. Hopefully it'll come in a little bit less when the bond sale day comes, but we can't exceed what we put in the notice. So I think we're in pretty good shape there. Appreciate staff's ability to help me with the calculations here and finding the parcels that we need to get the job done. So I guess with that, and in order to go over 15 years on the bond issue, we did have to ask either the county or the school district to decline. We didn't want them anyway to participate. We're just going to do city taxes, obviously, on this. So, Steve, I think we maybe did get a receipt from probably the school that said they're going to decline this. So I think we should be good in that respect, too, because it's a 20-year max if one of the 3 jurisdictions declines. Otherwise, we're only 15 years maximum on this. So we wanted to get this out a little bit so it matched it would match the other part of the project too. So it's a 19-year bond total. So I'll yield to the council if you guys have any questions, or if there's anybody in the audience that has any questions on the public hearing.
Okay, first thing I'd ask the council if they have any questions for Todd, and then I will open the public hearing. Okay, hearing none, we're gonna open the public hearing regarding the proposed tax abatements for electric generation building and municipal liquor store. Do we have any members from the public who wish to make a statement? Any members from the public that wish to make a statement? Council, any comments? Okay. Have we received any written comments? Steve's shaking his head no. So with that, I will close the public hearing. Public hearing is completed. The council will wish to take action on the resolution.
I would introduce a resolution approving the tax abatements.
I would second.
Resolution introduced by Marv and seconded by Jenny. Any further discussion? One thing that I would say to folks that may be listening is this is in general being paid by revenues and will not affect the taxes. Okay? All revenues. Okay? Okay, with that, hearing no further comments or questions, Steve, a roll call?
Nelson,
Yes.
Grunig,
Yes.
Benson,
Yes.
Quaid,
Yes.
Esplin.
And that carries. Thank you, Todd.
So if you more things to get done for the bond sale on November 7th, but this is definitely nice to get through this part, and so we'll see you in November.
Thank you, Todd.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yep, bye.
Bye.
Okay, we're through those two. Next, we have the 2018-2020 to 2022 Small Cities Development Program Grant Closeout. And we have a member from the Small Cities Program here with us, and Tiffany's gonna join. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Tiffany Lamb, Windom EDA Director. Just to introduce the grant, in 2018, the city entered into a grant agreement with Minnesota Deed with encompassing the requirements of a small cities development program. Purpose of the program was rehabilitation of owner-occupied single-family homes by low and moderate income property owners in the target area. The expiration for the grant agreement was originally September 30th of 2021. However, the pandemic did stall some of the projects, and so it was extended actually twice. Currently, projects that have been completed are all completed, and program requirements do include holding the public hearing. So today we do have Allie from the Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership in Sladen here to provide just a summary of the grant round and its results, and then to hold the public hearing.
Hi, I am Allie Jones. I'm the Director of Homeownership Services at the Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership. You can go to the next slide. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about what is small cities for those who may not have been here in 2018, and go through how it works, and then the goals and the eligibility of the program. Okay. So Small Cities is part of a federal program. It's coming from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. Minnesota receives the grant funds, and it's administered by DEED, so that's the Department of Employment and Economic Development. The Small Cities program can be utilized to preserve and rehabilitate homes, business properties, and infrastructure. However, Windom's target was for owner-occupied housing rehab only. And then there's federal objectives that are applied to all of these projects. The benefit of these are low and moderate income persons are able to receive the repairs needed for their homes. Okay? So, federal objectives, the activity must principally benefit persons on an individual household basis with incomes at 80% of area median income. So, obviously, starting in 2021, they have gone up through 2023. The activity must benefit, sorry, wrong one. I have that in there twice, I'm sorry. Again, the income has to be at 80%. We'll go how this project works. Basically, the rules is they have to own the property in the target area. So it was only in a certain area. We had 2 different areas that were carved out. We did not go to the second target area. We stayed into the first target area. It has to be their primary residence, and they have to have a permanent residence there. They have to be current on all their real estate taxes, current on their mortgage. We do require that they have homeowners insurance, and they have to be income eligible. Again, that's the 80% area median income. The types of projects and repairs that we are able to do: roofs and gutters, heating, windows. Sometimes we can do doors, depending on the type of door. Insulation. We can do siding, foundation work, electrical work, plumbing, and smoke detectors. Ineligible improvements are making things pretty, doing the just doing a rehab on, new flooring. We can't do painting, those type of things. We have to address all health and safety items. And if we cannot address all health and safety items, we cannot do the project. So if there's lead, we have to clear out the lead. There's also, we can do energy efficiency, accessibility, and then code compliance. All right. So the money that came to people, 70% of their project can be covered by the Small Cities Program, up to $25,000. So the maximum loan we could give was $25,000. That is a 0% deferred loan for 10 years. And then 10% of that loan is forgiven over the 10 years. So every year, another 10% is forgiven. These loans are on your books. They are with the city of Windom. Okay? This is an example. This is not a particular example of someone in Windom. So they lived in a home. They had a couple children. Their income was $59,000, so they were able to income qualify. The repairs that they did were roof, insulation, smoke detectors, gutters, electrical, furnace, and then reducing the lead paint. So that's just an example of what we could do. All right. So our original goals when we started with this was to rehabilitate 20 homes. So we applied for 20 homes. The award that we received from DEED, actually that you received from DEED, is $364,000. The average loan per household is probably about $18,200. That was our original goals. Again, 70% of the project would be paid by Small Cities money. The owners would have some matching money that they would come in with, and then we would also help support people in applying for additional funding to cover those matching 30%. And then the absolute maximum loan amount is $25,000. So here's what we accomplished. So we received 20 owner-occupied applications. Of that, 11 owner-occupied projects were completed. Of the 8 that did not go through completion, 3 of them did not complete the full application. 4 of them withdrew the application. 1 was over income, and we had 1 that wanted work done that we couldn't do, so they wanted to make their house pretty. All right. The city invested $11,000 into this project. And then there was an additional $28,189 in other funding that we brought to the table that were either loans or grants. The out-of-pocket for all 11 of those homeowners was $51,809. All right. So these are just some before and after pictures of the properties that we helped, that we worked on. So you can go through those as quickly as you want. And that is all. Do you have any questions for us?
Any questions? Marv?
Have you done comparables and looking like how the city of Windom does as compared to other cities of our size?
I'm there. Okay. Yes, so we are working in other communities. We have done more in the city of Windom than we did in like 2 or 3 communities for owner-occupied put together. So we were fortunate enough to find a contractor willing to work with this program. It's very difficult to work with this program. Very difficult to work with this program. So it's hard to find contractors. So we get a lot of applications from other communities and we just can't get it through the finish line.
Okay, other question? Sounds like it was a very good project for the city of Windom. So with that, I should probably officially open the public hearing for any public comment, which that public hearing is now open. Any members of the public wish to comment on the program? Hearing none, this is a short public hearing. We'll close the public hearing. Final comments or questions from the council? Jenny?
I just think, like she said, from hearing from some people in the community, that it is very hard for the contractors to jump through the very specific hoops that they have. And so I think we are very lucky that we do have some contractors in our area that were able to step up to the plate and do those and in the time frame needed, so that 11 projects could be completed. So thank you also to our local contractors that are able to make that work.
I completely agree with you.
Is there anything from the council as an official closeout, or has that been completed now, or anything that we need to act on for you?
All we need is the minutes from your meeting stating that we had the closeout, and yes, then it is completed.
Okay. Thank you both very much. Thanks for the presentation. Okay, next item would be the Windom Apartments LLC. There's a TIF amendment, and I will let Steve on this one give a brief explanation. Oh, Tiffany's here to do that. I'm sorry, Tiffany.
You're absolutely fine. So a little background on this. On October 3rd, City Council had accepted the special appropriation from the state of Minnesota, which includes funds of $10 million to facilitate completion of the Windom Apartments LLC development, as well as approving the grant agreement and loan documents with that developer. When we worked through that, that had been contingent upon them essentially agreeing to terminate the existing TIF. So there was a contract for private redevelopment established in June of 2022. That was for a total of $983,316. With the award of the special appropriation and the loan documents with them, we had continued to work with them to essentially figure out how to approach the TIF. The developer did agree to relinquish its rights to receive that tax increment, and so EDA staff did work with our TIF attorney to determine exactly what was needed to do that. We were able to put together a TIF amendment, which the developers have agreed to, and that just needs to be approved by the council to terminate that TIF. Like I said, the developers have already agreed to that, and this has been reviewed by the TIF attorney, and he has stated that this is sufficient to officially terminate the actual TIF note between the city and the developer.
Tiffany, could you explain the dollar amount of TIF that is being canceled, how much that is?
Yes, so this is termination of the full amount of the $983,316. They will not receive any tax increment. All of the taxes on the new development with the apartment buildings will go straight into the levy as normal, as if there was never a TIF in the first place with that.
And so that, also takes, I guess, takes away any risk to the city taxpayers. And it is a huge benefit in my mind of almost $1 million that, will be usable right out of the box when that project's completed. So I think this is great. I think it's a benefit to our community. And I appreciate all the work that Tiffany's done on this, and I would encourage the council to act on this TIF amendment.
Just one quick add, Mayor. Council, you may remember when we approved the loan documents at the last council meeting for the Windom Apartments, it was contingent on having this TIF forgiven, and this is that follow-up piece to that, just to tie that up for you.
I'll make a motion to forgive the TIF amendment.
I'll second.
Motion Scott, second Jim, to, I guess, accept and ratify that TIF amendment that is before us. Any questions? And this is a roll call, I believe. Steve?
Esplin,
Yes.
Benson,
Yes.
Quaid,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Grunig.
Yes.
Very good, and that's completed, and I think that project is, shouldn't be everything taken care of, with the exception of getting it built, and finalized out. So it'll be great to have that on the tax roll.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Item number 5, and I know Steve attended this, so I'm going to let him comment, but it's the Minnesota Department of Transportation Local Road Improvement Project.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. What the information in your packet, in 2020, we applied for a local road improvement grant. These are some dollars that came through MnDOT. The project we applied for at that time was a reconstruct of River Road from Highway 6071 there by the stoplight by Hy-Vee down 10th Street, makes the turn by the high-rise apartments, and then terminates where County Road 13 starts, where CASA 13 starts, which is River Road. At that time, we applied for these local road improvement dollars. I think the max was $1,250,000. The state has not put any dollars into that program until this last legislative session, as they had a surplus of dollars, so they refunded this program. They are now soliciting grant applications for up to $1.5 million. If you can prove that it's a road of regional significance and importance. We did a pretty good job of that the last time. We ended up being just below the funding line. I think we were 2 projects below the cutoff. Because we're a city under 5,000, the county has to sponsor a grant application, and the county engineer has to sign off on it. They did have this at one of their prior meetings, and had signed off on a support resolution for us should the council want to move towards the submission of a grant. So there is fairly large match on this, so I'm going to just kind of walk you a little bit through the project. As I noted, we're kind of looking at, starting at the highway, coming down 10th Street, and then terminating on 13th Street, which is where County State Road 13 comes. So I did have DGR update our costs on this particular project, and as I noted, this is a reconstruct, so it's water, sewer, storm sewer, road surface, curb gutter, the whole thing. And when you look at that cost estimate for that section of road is $5.687 million, so nearly $5.7 million. That is a tremendously large chunk and larger than the last 2-3 street projects that we've done. The 2013, 2017, and the 2021 projects are all, they were $4 million or a little more. This is a significant undertaking. It is towards the top of the street committee's list and utility commission's list of roads to be reconstructed. As I noted, this is a $1.5 million grant should it be awarded out of a almost $7 million project. So that would put you at about a $4.2 million project for the city's share of it. So it's essentially about a quarter of the cost. Water and sewer would have a pretty good sized portion of these dollars. But just so you know what the total number we're looking at, that's what we're looking at with this. I included a copy of the resolution that the county board submitted, and then just kind of the first 2 pages of the grant app that we had submitted in 2020, just kind of outlining why we believe that's a project that the state should consider for funding. So that's kind of what I've got for you on this particular agenda item. And the deadline for submitting the project isn't for a little while yet. I believe it's in December. So you would have some time to either, if you want to move ahead this evening, you certainly could, or if you want to refer it to street committee for them to have more discussion, you certainly could. But I wanted to get it in front of you so that we had some time to get the grant app prepared if that's the direction you so choose to go. But I guess this time I'll entertain questions from anybody and see what your comments are.
I'll start with a question. Is that was total project cost, Steve?
Yes.
And so there would be some assessments making up a portion of this?
Right, so if we
And
treat it
how
as a
much?
typical product, how much, we haven't done a feasibility study. This would really start that ball rolling. So as with our other street projects, we would go through the assessment process, which would be a feasibility study needs to be conducted. That is then done. The engineers come back with information. There's a public hearing held. You then go through that public hearing process. The costs get kind of, ferreted out and divided out there. And then after the public hearing, the council can decide to move forward with plans and specs if you so choose. So that's kind of the process. Now, that probably will all be happening after the grant application is due. So that's the kind of the bugaboo on the timing on this. We don't have essentially the window to go through the feasibility study, hold the public hearings, and do this before we submit the grant app. So the grant app would have to go in, and that's the way we did it the last time. The grant app was submitted, and if we got awarded funding, then the council can, decide if you want to accept that grant or not. And then if you do, then you would move forward with that feasibility study and then get, refining the project and getting the design all completed, that kind of thing, so.
Was this previously called a Road to Market or something like that program, or?
It's, there's trunk highway programs, and there's, what was it, farm to market or something, yeah, this is not that.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's corridors of commerce. The deed's got a lot of different programs. This one is local road improvement funds, and it's for roads of regional significance within areas that, we're serving. Obviously, we picked this section of road because it serves the school. There's a lot of people come in town, for school events. The kids come from outside the area as well as in town. River Road, that kind of segment goes out to the golf course, and so there's some recreational opportunity out that way. There's, some commerce that comes in on that county road through town. It also goes by our high rises I mentioned. It goes through our emergency services building. It goes by Bark, which is also a venue for, people to come to. It goes through our downtown and hits one of our, 2 stoplights. So it was kind of a natural to pick that section probably as maybe one of the only streets in town that would qualify for this type of funding, which is why it was selected in 2020.
Right, and that road is terrible. I can attest to that as well as the whole council can. It's not very often, I guess, that you get a chance for 1.5 million, but, that could entail a lot of money that taxpayers supported. Not just the adjacent residents or businesses.
I mean, it'll have if you were to get a grant on this one, it would have the effect of reducing, those costs for everyone. It'd probably be.
Proportionately?
That'd have to be up to the council to have that discussion. How would you like to do that? But rather than looking at a $5.6 million project and parceling it out, you're looking at 4.2 and parceling it out. And the 4.2 is again, fairly consistent with what we've done in the last three street projects from a total standpoint. But this is one project. It's one section. It's not 20 blocks or 15 blocks scattered throughout the community. You're looking at one big project. This is probably going to be it for a while. So just, and if, if the council wants to take a different direction to do more mills and overlays rather than reconstructs, that's certainly your prerogative, to do that too. But we wanted to bring this opportunity to you for direction. So that's what this is for.
What's the application deadline? Then I'll give it to you,
I
Dennis.
believe it's December.
Dennis?
Yes, approving this resolution in no way says that we're gonna go ahead with this project.
It does not formally commit you to that. There'd be a grant
But-
agreement coming down the line. But, you kind of want to feel that you're moving in that direction because you're going to start incurring, some potentially, if it's grants awarded, you're going to have that decision to make at that time. But, if you don't want to apply for it and have no interest in it, then let's not go down this direction. And, I'd rather have a semblance of, a direction of the council. Yeah, if we get it, we're going to obviously going to consider it, but, we don't want to spend a lot of time, updating some engineering, numbers and going through the application process and telling the state, oh, thanks, but no thanks. So if we have a consensus now of moving forward or not, I think that would be helpful for staff.
Does the street committee have any recommendation? Does the street committee have a recommendation?
I don't believe the street committee has discussed this. That's why I thought if you wanted to refer it back, you could certainly do so.
I think folks should ask their questions or make some comments now that the street committee can hear, and maybe we can refer it to them to have the discussion, but I think they need to hear your comments or concerns or whatnot.
Do we know how old the water and sewer through there is and what kind of shape it's in?
Yeah, the water and wastewater departments have that information and had recommended it in 2020 when we applied for it to have that reconstructed, and that was the reason.
I guess I was shocked when I seen all the utilities that were proposed to be replaced. My recollection was, I was here when this was being done in the late 80s, when River Road was completed, and I thought most of the sewer was completed, put in new. There's as-built plans down at this wastewater plant that says what was replaced, and
And as I said, if you refer back to streets, I'm sure water and wastewater can pull all that
yeah,
information.
it's all
provide it to you.
available. I had my part in doing the as-built plans too, so I know that was all done, but I was shocked that there was that much utility work that needed to be done.
I know some recently was on Fourth out here. I think that crossing down here was redone at that time. What's that been? 8-10 years ago?
Fourth Avenue, we did the downtown section in 09, I think.
09. Yeah, 14 years already. And that was just replacing the intersections where it crossed, I believe,
Yep.
when they had it opened up. And then all the service lines at that time, so those people have been assessed, I would assume, for anything that was
on
done.
Fourth.
but-
It was Fourth, yep, we paid for any main extensions outside of Fourth.
Yep. Marv?
Steve, do you know if the update includes a widening of the residential portion to match the county portion?
I'll have to check on that with Dan, but I don't believe I believe it was replaced as is. And we did talk about trying to avoid where we did that patch 2 or 3 years ago because we sunk a lot of money into that, if there's a little section to leave, but, in the grand scheme of things, it's pretty small.
And if we have a chance to widen that several feet, I think that would be a positive.
Jim, any comments? Any guidelines for the street committee?
Sounds like it goes to streets.
Scott?
I guess I'd just check with some of the local businesses downtown to see if they're willing to put up with the construction down, because that's gonna shut the whole downtown down pretty much, ain't it, on that main road?
There will be times that it will be out of commission, correct. Yep. Just like we did Fourth Avenue through town in 2009, we did through that, and so, you make as best access as you can, and fortunately, some of the business can be assessed from the rear, so.
Jenny?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about it at street committee. I always like to see, when there's a possibility of 1.5 million. I mean, I know it's a big project, but when there's a possibility of that kind of funds and a grant coming to us, I hate to lose that opportunity. I mean, we know it's gonna have to be done in the future, and the cost is just gonna continue to go up, and if there's not grants, then we're paying the whole, fee in the future, so, I mean, I wouldn't need to meet as a street committee. I would be for applying for this grant or having it move forward. But if the rest of the council wants us to meet and talk with the street department and come back, that's fine with me as well.
I would say not only the street department, but I think the utilities, as Dennis mentioned. I think there should be discussion, maybe that, I don't know if they research it, talk to the utilities and see the age and whatnot on that.
I would say if there's a meeting with the street committee, it should involve somebody with the sewer and water and wastewater too, maybe the chief or somebody. Yeah. Yeah.
They're sitting right there. Okay, is that the council's consensus, as well the street committee do a little bit more research then on the impacts and what needs to actually be done, okay? Is that good for you, Steve?
Yep. I got consensus to table the resolution and refer it to the streets committee.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, next, item number 6, we have a Windom Area Health Community Policing Services Agreement renewal.
Okay, yep, Scott's here too if you have questions, but as you may recall, we had a community policing agreement in place the last 2 years, was it, with Windom Area Health, as they have from time to time some patients that they deal with, they would like some law enforcement support. And so Scott worked very hard with the hospital CEO, with Shelby, to work out a community policing agreement that's been very beneficial to both parties. And I certainly thank both of them for all the work they've done on it. And this is a continuation of that joint partnership and for 2 more years. And it's recommended by the chief and myself to approve the agreement.
Council action, questions?
That, the money that they pay, will that cover the police end of it as far as insurance and compensations and?
Yeah, Scott can
Our
maybe
chief
talk
is-
a little more about it, but yeah,
So
it's
that-
it's a portion of funds that cover a portion of the time, so.
We, Scott Peterson, Chief of Police, we go 15-minute increments three times a day is what we go through. The funding that they provide goes to a 10th officer position that currently is vacant, but that's what they help pay for.
It's beneficial then.
It's very beneficial. We've built a lot of relationships with people out there. The people at the hospital like it. They feel, safer, if you will. We act as kind of their security force. So it's been very good for both parties, and they were very enthusiastic about it continuing, and so are we.
Okay, council wish to take action?
Make a motion to approve it.
I'll second.
Motion Jim, second Jenny, to approve the Windom Area Health Community Policing Service Agreement renewal. Any, yep. Any final comments? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next one. Pardon me? Yep, now we're going the other way. Southwest West Central Co-op Community Policing Agreement termination. This one, I believe, will get a few comments. I'd like to just, I'd like the council to understand what we're doing, where we've been on this. Scott, are you prepared to? Okay, thank you.
For the last 6 years, we've been in a partnership with the Southwest Co-op in providing police services to their building. Basically, that entailed a half hour of foot patrol in the building. In that time, we were able to make positive connections with kids and also deter crime. And as we get going into this, you'll see a list of calls. It'll be a list that'll help explain a little more as to how the situation played out. We were contacted by the school in August, and they wanted to have a meeting. They were in the impression that the contract had expired. The contract didn't expire until June of 2024. After that meeting, their attorney contacted Ron Trammell, and they were interested in ending the agreement. Their reasoning for that was the new school resource officer law. Perhaps you've seen on the news about that. They felt that they were subject to liability. We had put in place a plan that had been approved by our city attorney that's currently being used at the Windom Area High School. We were going to use that plan at the ALC as well, where someone would be designated a school resource officer a day, every day, and someone else would have to come in and do the enforcement. After that plan, the Attorney General of Minnesota offered his legal opinion, and that made the situation a little more clear. It wasn't to everybody, so he offered another legal opinion. It basically said that a peace officer in the performance of their duties could use force to make an arrest. Now, in the past 6 years, because of getting to know kids, and when you work with people every day, we haven't had to use force very often, because kids knew us. You develop a sense of trust. They know who you are. So that wasn't something we encountered a lot because of those relationships we built. They also stated that their board had never approved the agreement. One thing I do have is a memory. And 6 years ago, they contacted us. We had 2 meetings with them, Steve, myself, and Ron Trammell. They contacted us after the second meeting and said they wanted to do a half hour a day, and that's what we provided. I remember it as like it was yesterday. But yet, according to them, the agreement had never been approved, and they just don't know quite how they got where they were, is probably the best way to say it. What you have up on the screen is a list of calls, and we have calls that came from that school over the last 6 years. And what we also have is a comparison of some of the businesses or buildings that draw a high amount of activity. Now, in the hospital's case, those calls are they're a little misleading because those are dog bites. Those are your run-of-the-mill, maybe not for the people that are calling, but they're not a crisis situation that's involving 2 or 3 police officers to respond to. And as you see our entertainment establishments in town, and they do a heck of a job, where one would think you might get disturbance calls, we're not getting them. When you look at the bottom, the majority of those calls are a disturbance that require police to respond in multiple units. And what started this, and Steve, if you want to flip to the other page, what started this is you see this building, for lack of a better term, kind of got out of control. We had 21 calls, we went up to 40, and 40's being charitable. Because when we would go there, we would oftentimes be approached by staff and say, hey, we got another kid you need to deal with. We didn't count that. We just went and we dealt with it. Now, one thing I do want to say is The staff there were great to work with. They've got an excellent principal, and they are not behind this. They would like to keep doing what we're doing. This is coming from their administration in Marshall. So I can't say enough. We built a relationship with them, and it wasn't just us. It was a team effort, and as you notice, it started to go down. And that was because of the efforts that we put in together, the staff and our staff. And I can't say enough about our staff, of the work that they did down there. We had never in the past referred to this as a school resource officer, because a school resource officer is more of a full-time. Now, with this law that came down the pike, we had to designate someone in that role in order to essentially comply with that law. Now, that law is going to get changed in February, when the session. So I think it was a situation where it's unfortunate that we got to this point, because we could have, a few more months, that could have been fixed, if indeed that's their concern. We've worked well at the Windom area schools. To give you an idea there, Dana had 25 calls last year. She had an extremely busy year. The calls started to creep back up last year, but we were able to, because of our presence there weren't a lot of violent calls. And I'll tell you what my biggest fear is on this, is I'm worried about our staff. When you know people and you have a relationship with people every day, they're less likely to resist should some law enforcement action be required. When you don't have that, that makes me worried for the people that go in that building, that maybe they might be at risk to be assaulted, because that connection is gone, and it won't take long for that to happen. So that's kind of where we're at, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
What if the council doesn't take affirmative action on this? What if we say, no, we don't agree with it?
The city attorney and I have discussed possible remedies in the future, and we will come back and visit with you should there be. That would be a question better asked to Ron probably than me. They wanted to get out of this. They went through Ron. It was Ron's recommendation to proceed. If the number of calls, we have to respond to the calls that they've had. If there are possible remedies, we can come and visit with you at the appropriate time.
I understand, but it's, I'll tell the public, it's nothing that is done by our police department. This is administration from somewhere else, based in Marshall, and I'm really upset by this, because that affects our whole community. And I remember at that time when this sat down and got this going, everybody after 1 year was proud of that. They extended the agreement. They said that was great. But here we are today, because change in policy up in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and watching your butt and all this other stuff, and we're not looking out for the health and welfare of our community. So I've got a problem with it. I thought it was going to be resolved the other way, but it's not. And I think that's just it's just unfortunate. Jenny, would you like to share some of your thoughts, please?
Just overall, I was thinking about this, and our Windom police being in the ELC and ALC school has, for the officers, it's given them an insight into these kids. The kids that are there have struggles, and a lot of them have emotional and developmental learning disabilities, and they take a special skill set, I would say, to work with these kids. And the officers, by going in there, learn that, and they learn how do you best work with these kids when they're in crisis. And I think, the officers relate well with those kids and learn those things about them. By the police being in there, the staff at the facility, they feel more secure.
Absolutely.
They feel like they have a collaboration with the police, and, know that they're going to be there to help them. And if they have questions about how to deal with certain things or certain events, just to kind of de-escalate, the police are there to give them that benefit of their knowledge. And this also helps the kids there. I mean, the kids making that positive connection with law enforcement is huge. All the research says, and there's a lot of research out there, that having even just one positive adult connection for a kid helps them tremendously in the future. And who better to have a positive connection with than a law enforcement officer that's coming in? And a lot of these kids don't have that view or didn't have that view before of law enforcement being a positive or supportive person in their life. And so I think to make that relationship in a non-stressful situation, when they're not in crisis, they see you at the school, they make that connection. So then when or if something does happen and there is a crisis, they're like, okay, it's Officer so-and-so. I see him, every other day he's here, and they feel comfortable, and they'll say, you know what, yep, I made a mistake or I messed up. I know I got to go with you, and they go willingly. Where if they don't have any kind of relationship or connection and you walk in a uniform with, weapons, it puts them on high alert right away, and we're going to have crisis situations. I do not understand the school and their thoughts here. Also, just a shout out to Officer Dana, and I think the Windom community can tell the years that she has been in the Windom school. And you can tell when the little kids see her anywhere in town, when she's on duty, off duty, doesn't matter. They're like, oh, there's Officer Dana, like she is just known, and she's known as that school resource officer. And I think then as the kids grow and mature, they're like, this is a person I trust, I've developed a relationship with. It's a person that if something happens to me, I can go to. And that's what we want these kids all to develop at the ELC and ALC school. We want those kids to develop those relationships and that respect for authority as well. So it is just beyond me why the ELC, ALC school administration would choose to do this, because we all need to work together, I think, to support these kids at this school. And that's what it's really about. It's about these kids. And I don't think that staff is seeing it.
I have a story that I can share with you that it was took me by surprise, but there was a 5th grade boy who, when I started there, he didn't like law enforcement, but he took a shine to me for some reason. And we started to eat lunch together, have conversation. He'd ask me about law enforcement, so forth. That was something I never envisioned myself 30 years ago when I got in this business, that would probably happen. In our time that we spent together, he went from hating law enforcement because they'd come to his house, perhaps arrested a parent or something, to liking law enforcement and wanting to be a police officer. He went back to the school that he came from in the other town and is now a good friend of the school resource officer in that district, and people were amazed that we were able to do that. So there's an example, and our folks have countless stories they can tell of reaching kids that are at risk and perhaps being a good role model for them. So I'm very proud of our folks, what we did.
Thank you, Scott, for your comments. And Jenny, I know you deal with these type of situations often in your profession, and I thank you for what you do. The concern for me, I think, is moving forward, if the council terminates this agreement, is what happens when your calls go up to 40 or 50, something like that, Scott? Because I'm concerned, is the ALCs in our community, they employ quite a few people, and I don't know what percent are from our community, but I think they're good jobs. They respect the law enforcement within our community, and somebody out of town is making the decisions. But what are we going to do as a police department when the situation, if it arises, okay, to double the amount of calls, double the amount of work? Now we have some serious issues coming. What happens then?
There are some remedies that our city attorney has looked into, and I didn't plan on bringing those up tonight, but Ron is on top of this. We have some remedies at our disposal. One thing that I've learned in 30 years of law enforcement is history is a good predictor of future events. And when things that happen in the past generally happen again. You take police presence out of there, there's probably a good chance the calls are going to go up. And we also would get calls, aside from responding to the school, we would get calls in our lobby at 3:30 in the afternoon from people that had incidents in school wanting to report it. And we ran into those as well. So there's that potential. But we have an excellent city attorney who's on top of this, and there are potential remedies, and he and I both will come back to see you should that be necessary.
Well, I'm not going to make a recommendation to the council to accept it, but Scott, do you, based on you and the
I'm
city?
going by our legal opinion.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, this stings. We put our heart and soul into this. Every one of us did. And to, within just a month, because we're under new management down there, to flush this, it stings. It really does. I don't know what else to advise you on other than the agreement's been worked out with both attorneys. Our attorneys advising to, they're willing to pay us what they owe us and move ahead. But it does, it stings. It really does.
Personally, I think it puts a lot of, not only the staff, but a lot of the kids at risk, a big risk. When I went to school, we didn't have problems because we had teachers that would handle it. You can't do that no more. So I really think it's a bad deal.
We're, like I said, we didn't see this coming. This was working well. We just didn't see this coming. And a new site manager, I suppose, for lack of a better term, took over. How this agreement wasn't signed or approved by a board is beyond me. But that's we are where we are, and we'll deal with it as we have to. And we'll be back to see you and give you a report as to how things are going. It's very unfortunate, is what it is.
To be honest with you, I say no. Kids nowadays have fallen through the cracks so far, and some kids need more help. And with the violence and the mentality of what's going on in this world today, ramping up so bad, we can't afford to wait till later. Later's too late. When something happens that they got to call you guys anywhere, it's already a now situation. You don't need to wait till later till it gets to out of control where we were looking at something completely different here. So I say, my personal feeling, we do not wait. We say no, and we talk to the other board, and we get them on our side, or we do something different, because this is, we cannot have this. That's just my recommendation. I do feel that you cannot let kids fall through the cracks any further than they've already fallen. And these kids that need help like this, and you've seen yourself what you guys can help all kids. And that's what the world needs. We need to help kids nowadays. That's our future. If we don't help our future, we're all in big trouble.
Thank you, Scott. I don't disagree with you. However, we have opinions from our legal counsel to act on this. And unfortunately, we have to act on that tonight. The one thing that I'm sitting here considering is we have our legal counsel's recommendation. I would be in favor at this point of doing that, but also the discussion that this council has had here tonight, I think goes a long ways. And I would like to get us on the record with their board and send them the real message. Yes, we approved it, but we don't agree with it. And this falls on your hands.
Do you want a letter from you and the council?
Yes, from myself, it's signed by the whole council, if you agree. If you don't sign it. But I feel that, as Scott said, we gotta make some kind of stance. I think we have the recommendation from our council. I don't agree with it. But you know, I think this is beyond that at this point. They're not gonna, you're not gonna be in their facility. That's where unfortunately.
I'm just
No,
gonna
they don't
say it,
want you.
I don't think they want police in their facility. I think that statement probably, I think it's fair to say.
Okay, well, Scott, I think we'd all be willing to do that. I think we need to voice our opinion. So, as a council.
The Windom Police Department would appreciate it.
We'll tell the story.
Deal with the termination vote
And then we'll do a
sending
vote.
letter.
Yep,
Take a motion.
okay. I'm gonna ask for a motion, with regret. I'm gonna ask that the council approve this somehow, if you're willing, is to approve the termination agreement with the Southwest West Central Co-op.
I would make the motion.
I'll second it with regrets.
Motion by Marv, seconded by Dennis. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? No. Two of them? Okay, 3-2, it passed. Now I'd like the council to approve that the mayor and city council send a letter of, I don't know what you want to call it, of concern, of regret, of whatever you want to call it. I think are between Steve and we'll get the proper information. Scott, you've heard how the council feels on this. And your department, pass that on to them. And I think we need to address this. I don't want to be blamed for something that happens to a student over there, or you, or you, or you, or you, or you. Or even Steve and Scott. Our whole city for that matter. Why do we want the finger pointed on us for terminating this? We don't. Our council spoke and we're all against terminating this. But we have to because it's the legal process, I guess. Bye. Okay.
We're kind of in that both parties can agree to terminate it. In Ron's opinion, I think we pretty much have to at this point. But I want to say I appreciate it. This standing behind us, we appreciate that. I'll tell all our folks that, and they're going to appreciate it as well. Because there was a heck of a job done there. I'm proud of everybody, and this is one thing that I gotten pretty actively involved with myself, because I thought it was important and we wanted to make it work, and I think we did.
I agree. That's why I'd like a motion, and I hope that's by unanimous vote, is that we send a letter objecting to this, whatever you want to call it. Steve will help draft along with.
Termination of the community
Termination.
policing agreement.
Yep.
I'll make a motion for that letter to go.
I will second it.
That motion by Scott, seconded by Jenny. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
I think it should be a
I
very,
even voted.
very strongly worded letter.
Any opposed? Nobody in this community.
The two of us will be able to pull that off.
Thank
We'll
you.
have Ron look at it just to make sure we're
Yes.
not overstepping.
Ron's probably watching this right now, so. Yeah. Okay, that motion carried. Thank you all. Thank you, Scott.
Very much.
Well, it's not always, nobody promised it was gonna be an easy job, right? Okay. Fire Department, Minnesota DNR grant agreement. Ben, it's been a while since you've been here.
It's not always a bad thing. Ben Derrickson, Windom Fire Chief. Back in, I believe it was May of last year, or of this year rather, I applied for a DNR grant. We've applied for this grant many years in a row.
I don't remember when the last time was we actually got awarded one. I believe it was in 18 or 19, if I remember right. Oh yeah, 16 or 17 for our turnout gear washer. We got awarded this grant, I believe. But anyways, this past year I applied for a $5,200 grant for 6 sections of LDH hose, which is a 5-inch large diameter hose, which supplies from the hydrants to our fire trucks. It's not that we're replacing hose, we're adding hose. Since a few years ago when we got Unit 20, we kind of brought 3 engines into our department. And we never added more LDH hose to those trucks. So we've got 2 trucks that have limited supply hose on them, so I wanted to get some more for that. Fast forward a few months here to about 3 weeks ago, I believe it was, we got notice that we had been approved for it, but we just got the paperwork on it here. I believe it was late last week or this week, whatever it was. Yeah, that we got everything signed and approved. When I applied for this grant, the intent for it was it was a 50-50 grant with the DNR, and the Relief Association would pick up the other 50% of the grant. So I guess what it comes down to is we've been approved for $2,600, and the Relief Association will pick up or make a donation to the city to cover the other portion of that. Looking for approval.
That sounds like a winner to me. What's the council think? Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second.
Everybody's jumping on that one. Motion by Scott, seconded by Jenny to approve the request to the fire department for new hose. Any comments or questions?
How has Operation Edith Week went? I know a lot of people heard and saw the fire trucks coming through, and you had your pancake thing, and how has that all been going?
We did have a busy week last week. We started it out with our open house pancake feed down there. I think we brought through roughly 325 people through for that. Good crowd for that. And then right away Monday morning, we started with classes for the school kids to come down to the hall for fire prevention, education-wise. We had a lot of classes with that. I got to thank my guys for that, guys and gals for that, for taking time out of their day to come down and help with that, because there is a lot of time that goes into that. We were supposed to end the week on Friday with a fire truck parade down at the elementary school. Due to the weather, we did cancel that, but we have it rescheduled now for this Wednesday, right before they get out of school. So we're hoping to still get that fire truck parade out and just kind of end it that way. It's a little late, but we're still planning on doing it, so.
Very good. All positive. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, guys.
Street closure request, Chamber Spooktacular Square event. Is this for the whole square area? That's how I read it, but.
Well, in reading the memo, they're closing 3rd Avenue between 9th and 10th Street, 4th Avenue between 9th and 10th Street, and 9th Street between 3rd and 4th. So 3 of the sides.
3 of the sides.
Yep.
Okay, and that's been approved by the chief and the street committee. Council wish to take action to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the street closure request.
I'll second.
Motion by Scott, seconded by Jim, to approve the street closing for the Spooktacular event, of which council members are all required to dress up and come to. Is there?
4 p.m. to 7:15 p.m.
Oh, I'm
Just so you know, there's a limited time.
Okay. But was that a motion?
Are you going to come as Billy Bass?
I don't know, Steve. I'm getting mixed up tonight. I'm on my high horse.
Well, don't you ask for a motion of the street?
I thought there was a motion.
Oh,
Yeah,
Scott?
and you
Okay,
gave
my
me the
bad.
second. Well,
Yeah, I'll second.
you,
I gotta, how, they're having the booths come in, and they got that many booths to, no?
it's a chamber
be.
event, so I'm assuming they're gonna have a good crowd. We should vote on it. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, same sign. Okay, that was spooky. Personnel, community center. A bartender and an on-call person. Here we go. What do you say, Tim?
Tim Snyder, Community Center Director. We've kind of had a rash of surgeries on some of our bartenders, some bad knees at their other jobs. We are in the need of bartenders to finish out 2023 and potentially go into 2024. At this point, I'm recommending the City Council approve the hiring of Connie Lubin for the position of on-call bartender. She has extensive experience doing this, and she's already completed the MLBA training, so bonus, a lot of experience.
Is there a motion from the council to approve?
I'd make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Marv, second by Jenny to approve the hiring of Connie Lubin for the bartender position. Any other comments? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. On call.
Yeah, another one, I'd like to recommend the City Council approve the hiring of Matt Vale for the position of on-call part-time. We have a series of events coming over the weekends, and with the part-time that we have in place now, his hours are going to go towards the arena here coming real soon as they get busy into their busy season. So we have a couple gym flips on the run on a Friday night and a Saturday night and a Saturday afternoon. So these young backs are a lot stronger than ours are.
I'd make the motion to approve the hiring of Matt Vale for an on-call position at the community center.
I'll second.
Motion Jenny, second by Scott. Any discussion? Anything to help you out? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Okay. So we have some liquor store items. Are these, which is the easy one?
Change orders.
Oh, I don't think that's an easy one in my viewpoint, but go ahead, John.
All right, John Nelson, liquor store manager. Before you is, we'll separate these out. Change order number 1. During our pre-construction meeting, one of the items brought up, I believe Steve actually brought up the discussion. They're going to be redoing all of the walls behind the shelving that's currently in the liquor store on the exterior walls. Behind that right now is just brick. They'll be furrowing out the walls where they'll have a 2x4 to run electrical and that through. And one of the recommendations was to apply 2.5 inches of closed cell polyurethane spray foam to the exterior walls. That'll make it a little bit more energy efficient than just the brick that's back there. So the cost of that is $5,297 to do the polyurethane spray foaming for the showroom area only. So they would cover the exterior walls that they are working on. So
I think,
Because right now it's just the cinder block wall, and with the transfer of either heat or cool coming in, we thought it made some sense to do that as long as all the shelving was gone and the walls are getting furred out. It kind of made some sense to do that. So and
I think
will
it-
take credit or blame for this one because it was my idea.
thank you for taking the blame.
I said either one.
My question just was simple, is we didn't know that before, huh?
we didn't discuss any of that before. No. Well, we did. You can look behind the shelving and I mean, you can see it. I mean, there's one area where you can see that. You know, other than that, you know, unless you're peeking behind the ice machine, that's all you know. The shelving was installed when the building was built in the 1970s, and so who knows what kind of dust is back behind there as well too. But you know, or you know, I don't think there's any building leaks or anything like that. But you know, there'll probably be some surprises back there.
I'm fine with doing that. I'm just wondering why the architects didn't catch that. It just seems like if you're hiring an engineer to do this, that they would know some of these things, but it is what it is. You should have done it in the first place, so that's the reason why the council should act on getting it taken care of.
I would guess in the 70s when it's built, there is insulation inside the brick itself, and this would just add additional insulation to make it a little more airtight, a little more efficient. So
I'm gonna make a motion to accept the change order 1 and 2 for Susan Construction.
we'll just do one for right now.
We'll just do one.
We'll do one then.
Thank you, Scott.
I'll second.
Motion by Scott, second by Jenny, to approve change order number 1. Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that motion carries. What's number 2 about?
All right, number 2 is originally in the specs for the building. They have R21 fiberglass bat insulation in the walls of the new addition. This would change that fiberglass insulation to a 3-inch closed cell polyurethane spray foam with the same insulation value through the 3 new walls that are being built in that new addition. The cost of that is an additional $3,915. Originally, we thought that, you know, maybe spraying polyurethane spray foam would be less costly. According to this, it costs a little more. So that is completely up to you guys. It would put a spray foam insulation in all the walls. It leaves they'll still use fiberglass loose fill blown in insulation in the rafters in the ceiling of the new addition. This will just take care of the 3 outside walls where it'll be a closed cell versus that fiberglass bat insulation, which is typically what you see.
So this is the walls of the new addition. So it'd be the 3 outside walls of the new addition.
But we were
That-
going to insulate it.
That's going to be insulated with bat insulation. This is simply changing the type from bat insulation to spray foam.
What's the R
So
value difference?
there is no R value difference. So
Then why would you want to spend $3,000 more?
that, we didn't recommend that you approve this one.
Oh. Scott, do you agree with that?
Yes, I do, because batting insulation, if it gets wet, it can get mold. Many different things can happen to it. The spray insulation, my grandson sells the stuff in a different state, and if it gets wet, you can wipe it down, it can dry, plus it'll last, it'll stay in one spot, it won't fall. There's many different reasons why you would rather go with spray insulation versus batting insulation. I recommend we accept it. I'll make a motion.
And I would second. I think purely, you know, it's about, the foam is gonna last longer, and if we're looking at, you know, $3,000-4,000 in a project that we're hoping is gonna last many, many years, let's do it right the first time.
But I had 2 comments, one from there and one from right here, that said we don't have to do this one. Whose recommendation are we taking? No, I understand that. I have a motion and a second, I've accepted.
Yeah, no, just from a R value standpoint, there was no difference in that part of it, and we didn't have a recommendation for it. The liquor committee does have a recommendation for it.
Okay, so the employees were neutral, you had a recommendation.
Correct.
So I wouldn't be agreeing with them, is what you're saying. Okay, we have a motion and a second, now we need discussion. What do you guys think? We're gonna find out. No more comments? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That passes, I think, unanimously. I'm just being difficult this evening. Scott got me fired up. Well, no, yeah, not you, Scott. You're good.
All right. Second action memo I have for you guys, and this is a liquor committee recommend to accept. In the past, I have reached out to the council about safety issues with the current apron and sidewalk in front of the liquor store. The sidewalk has shifted up and down. There is lips that can cause tripping hazards. Some of the lips are as big as 1.5 inches. Well, it was with Brian Cooley, so I can't remember how long ago that was. He did bring in a guy that could repair the issues by grinding it down and smoothing it all out. And the costs of that were just as high as replacing it all. I can't remember what those costs were a long time ago. So last year I did get one quote to replace the area in front of the store. But we delayed that project when we decided to go forth with the addition and the possibility of the vestibule at the front of the building. Now that we are not doing the vestibule at the front of the building, it is recommended to get those areas completed. So we originally quoted an area in front of the liquor store, the apron and the sidewalk. And so Susner Construction was on site. They got the bid to do the building. So they provided me one quote, and then I also received a quote from Barnett ProCare in town here. We did get quote from one other contractor in town, and as of last Thursday, he backed out of wanting to do the project. So in front of you is two bids. Susner quotes. The first one is from Susner Construction for $7,825. He did add an alternative to his quote for $2,650. That would get all the sidewalk in front of the liquor store replaced. If you look down on the east end of the sidewalk, there is a lot of crumbling from years of snow removal and the use of ice melt on those sidewalks. The other quote we got was from Barnett ProCare, which for the base bid was $8,300. So it is recommended by the Liquor Commission to accept the low quote from Susner Construction with alternative for a total of $10,475. This project will be done in the spring of 2024, so it will be done out of the repairs and maintenance budget.
My question once again is, why wasn't this discussed earlier prior to the award?
So it was discussed when we did the project initial bids, because we had the vestibule in front of it. It would have dealt with that. But when we didn't take that option for the vestibule, the sidewalk work went away from that with that. So that part of the project we did not do. So this is adding it back in, but we're doing it as a separate contract with Susner rather than running it through the construction contract, because that way we don't have the 10% adder for the architects.
Well, now that's what I'm talking about. Now, we're not gonna be, I mean, it's a large bond we're doing for this project. We're not, this
He's
is,
paying for it out of his maintenance budget for next year.
okay, I missed that. That's better yet. Okay, was there a motion and a second?
I'll make a motion to accept the sidewalk proposal quote
And I'll second.
with the alternative.
Okay. Motion Scott, second by Jenny, to approve the total of $10,475, which is the base bid and the alternate bid. Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Is there anything else to liquor store?
Just a quick comment.
Yeah.
If anybody's been down there and looked at that sidewalk, it's deteriorating. And if we would have a slip, trip, or fall on one of that, the liability for the city of Windom would be more than just what the sidewalk itself would cost. Plus, it's a city entity, and we want some of our entities to look really nice, being you're putting money into the liquor store anyway.
I agree. I just, honestly, I think it should have been done before, but. Okay. Anything else, John? Okay, let's get into that one. THC sales discussion. In your packet, you have the information as proposed by the liquor committee, and I thought it was discussed previously, but it was not found in any of the minutes, so it doesn't exist. So with that, I'm ready for your recommendation to move forward with your whatever the liquor committee decided.
I'll make a motion to accept the TEC sales discussions.
This is basically standing behind the law, the state law. You're conforming to that and allowing everything that falls under that law. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, we're saying the liquor store can sell whatever's allowable by state statute, which now does include edibles.
And that is the same as all other places that can sell liquor or whatever in town, or permitted, I should say, permitted. No? Okay.
Anywhere else can sell edibles. Edibles can be sold, it's not exclusively at the liquor store. We can sell edibles, they're being sold at all different locations. Yes, yes. Yep, we're just a municipal liquor, so the liquor is just with us, but the edibles can be sold by anyone.
Can, like the on-sale establishments, can they do that? Can they sell edibles and whatever? That's what I'm curious on. And do they sell drinks infused also, John?
So, I don't believe there's a state statute that states what on sales can or cannot sell. Previously to the cannabis bill that was passed, Minnesota State Statute 340A.412, subdivision 14, included everything that was in your packet 1 through 16. Part of the cannabis bill was that effective the day after the governor signed that bill, it added 17 and 18, which is lower potency hemp edibles as defined in section 34201 subdivision 50, and then products that detect the presence of fentanyl or fentanyl analog. So one thing interesting is when the THC bill was first passed and the city of Windom went through with a moratorium, I did have a investigator for the alcohol gambling enforcement show up at the liquor store. And they do make regular checks to us to make sure we're in compliance with things. Usually when they come in, they are making sure that we have a sign hung in our store with warnings for our customers. They check our keg registration book to make sure all that stuff in there is accurate. This time, and then check our buyer's card, and if our salesmen are there, they'll check the salesman's license to sell product as well. Last year when he stopped in the store, I started to get the stuff out, and he goes, "I don't care about that. Do you have any THC products in your store?" And I said, "No." I said, one, the city of Windom has a moratorium on it, and two, it's not listed in the state statute as an item that we are able to sell. He goes, "That's what I wanted to hear. Have a good day," and he moved on. When they changed this, it became more that we could sell these products. In previous years, they added things like citrus fruits and glassware because liquor stores wanted to have a lime so that people could buy a lime to go with their Corona instead of just the squeezable juice that goes into drinks. So effective July, when this came into effect, a lot of municipal liquor stores jumped on selling the stuff right away. We waited, as the city still had a moratorium, and there was discussion of what the city was going to do at that time. As noted in my memo, I have a breakdown here. The MMBA, the Minnesota Municipal Beverage Association, sent out, and they, at our regional meetings, they are adamant that we need to be selling these products. These are money makers for us. These are money makers for the cities that we're in. A lot of times when these municipal liquor stores were established was to control the sale of alcohol, to make sure all rules were being followed, all our staff is trained, that we're covering all of our bases to prevent anything negative from happening in our communities. So as I put in there, effective last Friday, there was 41 responses to that survey. Of the 41 responses, 18 of them were currently not selling THC products. 3 of those 18 were planning to add edibles very soon. A lot of them were starting with beverages and then moving into the edibles once they'll start. 14 of those responses, the council has either voted no to selling any of these products, or there's currently moratoriums in place in their cities still. And one response was a combination store. You asked about on sales. On sale is quite a bit different than the off sale. The League of Minnesota Cities Insurance Trust, who is our insurance carrier for the city of Windom, they added THC products as coverage for us. A lot of these on and off sales have gone through different companies because the rates are a lot higher with the on sale versus just an off sale. And so those insurance carriers won't cover them as a combination store to sell THC products. Again, 23 responses were yes. I know a lot of concern was, just selling the beverages. 9 of the 23 stores that said yes, they're currently selling it, only sell beverages. And 2 of them are going to be adding edibles soon. 14 of them are selling both. I included in your packet as well some regional sales numbers. Tracy, Minnesota jumped on right away as soon as July 1st came around. And they average about $1,500 a month in sales of THC products. That's gross, yes. The revenue side of things. Same with Marshall. Marshall did it a little bit differently. What Marshall did is their city council made an ordinance that only THC products would be sold at their municipal liquor store. There's no other place in Marshall that you can buy THC products. And last month alone, they had $17,000 in gross sales from just their THC products. They sell both beverages and edibles. One of the biggest municipal liquor stores in the state is Lakeville, up in the cities, and they currently just do beverages, but they are looking at jumping into the edibles as well. Their 4 stores up there did $40,000 in just beverage sales alone. They are a $19 million store a year between their 4 stores, so they are very huge. So with that, with the change in the amendment to that state statute, it is our recommendation to follow that state statute, which controls what we are allowed to sell and not allowed to sell.
But the city council doesn't, what's that?
Maybe he should tell you what they are allowed to sell.
Yeah. What are you allowed to sell?
So it's included in the packet. It starts out with alcoholic beverages, tobacco products, ice, beverages, either in the liquid or powder form, intended to be mixed with intoxicating liquor. Okay, the bottom of it. So the last two that were added were lower potency hemp edibles as defined in section 342.01, subdivision 50, which includes all, per the state statute, what's considered an edible, the beverages that are infused, and then they added products that detect the presence of fentanyl or fentanyl analog. I don't intend to sell any of those products, but
Well, it's in the law, why don't you sell them?
I don't think there's huge moneymaker for that around here for
And
us.
I'm not really, see, I'm on a different level than you are, John. I'm not, I don't think the city should be profiting off of THC sales. I don't agree with it, but that's my mentality, and that's why I'm so direct on this. I don't agree with it. I don't think we, as a municipality in a conservative area of the state of Minnesota, should be doing this. That's my opinion, but I am outvoted. Okay, I don't have a vote, John, so it's these people right here. They can vote yes or no. I know what the recommendation is, and I'm fine. They did their job. It wasn't said previously. That was a question I wanted answered, and that's what it is. Their recommendation is to follow state law, and have you made the motion and second to do that? That's what I thought. Yeah. Okay, so it's up to the council at this point. I don't agree with it. That's the way I am. So, council members that agree with it, vote yes. Marv?
John, you mentioned that that THC could be added to the insurance coverage, but at what cost?
No cost. I actually have MMBA sent a letter, and I forwarded it to Steve back in June. It's a standpoint from the League of Minnesota Cities Insurance Trust. Off sale is good to go was the title. And basically, there are no exclusions in the League of Minnesota Cities Insurance Trust liability coverage for the sale of THC or CBD products that were legalized in the 2002 legislation session. And now that that ordinance has been, or that state statute has been changed, it now applies to the sale at municipal liquor stores.
I guess I, for one, am with the mayor, and I don't think we should sell it.
And John, I'm going to give you one more concern that I have. Why is number 18? Why do we have to be allowed to detect the presence of fentanyl or a fentanyl analog? Why are we worried about this? Is it because we have THC in the store? I totally don't get the state of Minnesota in some of this, and it bothers me. So, fentanyl is nasty stuff, and it'll kill you. If we're worried about that and they have to put it in a state law and we're selling THC, that's why I'm opposed. The more we do is the worse I have to worry about my grandkids. I just disagree. I respect what you're saying, council members, but I do not agree. Jenny?
I understand, and I think, we can go way back years to say there was a time when people didn't want alcohol, and we shouldn't profit off alcohol and sell that in our, communities as well. But as far as, it's in the statute, it's allowable. Why would we limit ourselves from selling something that's a potential profit if it is legal to do? The liquor store, of all places, I think if any place is going to be selling it, the liquor store and tobacco shops like Nash. Those would be the two top places. I would like to see something like this sold, because those places are where normally people 21 or older are going to be inside. They're the ones that are going to be purchasing this, seeing this on display, and buying it. There's not many times that you will see somebody under 21 that's in the liquor store or in a tobacco shop. Now, these lower potency edibles can be sold at our local convenience stores, where kids are going in with their parents and buying a candy bar and buying a juice box, and then their parents are getting the edibles and the kids are seeing this. And then the kids are knowing that this is going home. Like, well, my parents got gummies and I got a candy bar and a juice box, you know? We're not having that. We're not putting the kids at risk of seeing these things and seeing these products if we have them sold at the liquor store or a tobacco shop. So to me, it makes more sense that that is the place where adults only go to shop, that you would sell these kind of things. But then it's on the parents, it's on the community. Just like when you buy alcohol and intoxicating beverage, that you want to keep that out of your hands of your teenagers and your young children. You buy that stuff, you put it away. You make sure your kids don't get into that kind of thing. And that, you know, isn't the city that's policing that. That needs to be parents that step up and do that. And so I really think, you know, we just need to follow the statute. I don't think there's anything wrong with making a profit on that. And just to touch on the fentanyl part, I think there's just been a lot of issues with overdoses and things like that. I don't think it is like tied to our edibles. It's just something separate. And, you know, police, probation, all different people are carrying Narcan and stuff like that, so that if people come in contact, because it's so life-threatening and immediate, you need to do something about it. So Narcan is available to a lot more people now. Fentanyl testing is available. It's just, I don't know why it got thrown in with this, but I don't think it's really like tied to the edibles. It's just that this is something that's coming to light now.
Well, and I just don't understand that. Is it, you know, it comes sequenced after the previous one, that do you need to test that product for fentanyl? I mean, that's a testing product. It's not the Narcan or whatever it's called. It's to test. Does my drugs have fentanyl in it? That's what they're doing. And the other thing is, in my opinion, this should not have anything to do with profit. I don't care what you make on that. $1,000 a month to me is nothing. I could care less if the liquor store makes an extra $12,000 a year on those products. I would rather not, but once again, that's my opinion. I've stated what I wanted to state, and you guys have eloquently stated your case, and I understand that. So it's time for the council to vote on this. There's a motion and second on the table. Now, I'll ask one more time, and I'm not included in this. Is there any discussion?
Myself, I think it's a really bad thing. The state, you know, they passed it and they left. Leave everything up to the police. There's so much drugs in town anyway, I don't think selling at liquor stores would make any difference, but, you know, I'm against it. But as far as I'm concerned, if that's the law, that's the law, and I'd have to say yes.
Marv.
How many little kids don't like gummies? And that's what's going to happen.
Then again, like we've been talking about it, it is part of the law, and there's some misfortunes about the law, and there is fortunates about the law, because some people that maybe we don't enjoy this stuff. There are people out there that do and think it's a necessity or it's a welcome thing to our communities. If you do, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine too. That's America. We all have a right to say yes and no to everything. But it's one of those things that the state and everybody and the people who voted for it voted yes. So that's the way I got to look at it. They accepted it. We should accept it too.
And we can go back and forth on this a lot, but you were elected to do what's best for the residents of Windom. If you feel that it's best for the residents of Windom to be able to buy THC at our liquor store, including gummies and the fentanyl testing laboratory, then you vote yes. That's all there is to it. Any final see, now I made another comment. I'm going to call for the vote. Is that all right with the council? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes 3-2. That's what I heard. Okay, we added new business. State of Minnesota, this is the PFA money that was awarded. Steve's going to give us the lowdown on where that's at and what's going to be done now.
Sure, thank you, Mayor. Just real quickly, as you may remember, in the state appropriation that the council passed at the beginning, or the grant at the beginning of October, there was $2 million appropriated to the city of Windom to help pay off the wastewater treatment plant loan. That was covering the outstanding portion still owed by, it was Prime Pork and High Life. So that grant agreement got approved at the last meeting. We have been working with Public Facilities Authority. Essentially, what's going to happen is they're going to invoice us for the $2 million. We can then submit that to the state, and then to deed. When that money comes back to the city, we'll then cut a check to the PFA and pay that portion off. It'll be a one-time application of that payment, and by doing so, it's a low interest rate loan to start with, but we'll be knocking another $63,000 of interest off our loan by prepaying it in one chunk. I thought maybe I could be clever and draw the $2 million, then just pay them each year for the next 4 years and draw some arbitrage on it. But they saw through that, so we will do it all in one chunk and just like I said, applying it all in one payment. It's very clean, very easy. But I just wanted to let you know that we did get that. That'll be coming through. We'll be making that payment hopefully in November yet, and getting that interest knocked down and the balance on that loan knocked down. So want to let you know.
And I appreciate that, Steve, and your financial expertise just continues. And if there's a way to save a penny, Steve will find it, I think. So, but that's important to have a good city administrator that watches that and good staff that watches that stuff. So that's awesome. Any other new business? None that's on the agenda. Old business? Council comments. Just on council comments, I would like Steve just to, I almost put this on the agenda, but we had the state of Minnesota, the two bonding bill committees did hearings, and we were part of them. Steve, you want to just give us an update?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, the Senate Bonding Committee came. You may recall our bonding request project this year is for the stormwater project out at Red Leaf Court. It's about a $993,000 project. We're asking for state dollars to help us with half of that cost. The Senate came down. They came in bus. There was probably half a dozen or so senators on the bonding committee. Senator Weber came over and met them on site, so they were able to stand essentially out in Red Leaf Court. And the mayor was gracious enough. He had some pictures he had taken from one of the flooding events out there, and so I printed those off and gave to each of the members. And the one senator actually stood right on the side, held the picture up, and said, "Oh, there's the street sign. Oh, that's this one. Hey, the water was all the way up to here." And I said, "Yep." He goes, "I can see your problem." So it was very, very good visual for them. So that was completed. I did that visit, and then last week the House bonding committee, they were making a stop. They were over in Worthington at the community college, and then they had a number of people bringing those bonding requests to them, and we had a 10 or 15 minute window. DGR Engineering and Tiffany Lamb went over to that one representing the city of Windom. We had this packet of information and went over the project with them, and so both House and Senate bonding committees were able to see our project. So that was positive. We'll wait and see if we come out in the governor's recommendation after the legislature reconvenes. If we're included in that, and maybe even if we're not, we'll get a bill drafted and get that placed into the hopper. So we'll just work our way through that process as the legislative season kicks off next year. Lastly then, I'll also say that the League of Minnesota Cities did an area meeting in Windom. They were up at the community center. Thank you, Tim, for hosting them. Tim and Cheryl kind of staffed that meeting. I think there were 4 or 5 communities that were there, along with the executive director of the league, the director of the insurance trust, and 2 other staff people. So that was very positive. Nice to have them in the community, and thank them for the visit here. So that will do it, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Scott?
With the weather getting cooler outside now and the months are getting towards their winter months, if you have any extra clothes or something like that and you see some citizens that don't have the proper gear, please share with them people, and hopefully we can have a nice warm winter. But if we don't, we need to help each other out.
Thank you, Scott. Jenny?
We have our budget meetings next week, Monday and Tuesday, the 23rd and 24th. And then just to point out and remind us too that our November 7th meeting, that will start at 8:05. Is that correct? Just want to make sure I have that down due to election. Happy birthday to Jim Nelson. It's his birthday, and thank his wife for bringing in some cheesecake for us to enjoy before the meeting tonight. And then, let's see, what else did I have? And then the library is actually hosting award-winning author Alan Eskins at the Historical Society this Thursday at 10 a.m. He's going to come and speak, and I'm almost finished with his series of books. And let me tell you, it's a murder mystery, and he was a lawyer in Minnesota, and now author, and his books you can't put them down. So I warn you, if you pick up one of his books, you're not going to get any house cleaning, you're not going to get anything done, because you're just going to read it till it's done. But so I'm excited to hear him speak at 10 o'clock on Thursday.
This side of the room's pretty quiet. No, I don't think I have anything. So I think we're good for tonight at 8:28. We are adjourned by unanimous consent. Thank you all.